this is Rob Powell, and today in Tacx Turbo Talks we're talking to Tejay van Garderen about the upcoming Criterium du Dauphiné. It's Tuesday the 4th of June, the Giro is behind us and the Criterium du Dauphiné is only a couple of days away. Riders are descending from altitude back to France for it, whether it's from Tenerife, from the volcano, from the Sierra Nevada, or in the case of our next guest from Colombia. Welcome Tejay van Garderen from EF Education First. How was Colombia?
It was an incredible experience. I was there with my family, and we all just had a great time. I have a few teammates there that I was training with, Danny Martinez and Rigoberto Uran, and they were both, really happy to have me there. Really proud to show me around their country, and the training was amazing. The food was amazing. The people were super friendly. Couldn't have asked for a better trip.
Was it your first time in Colombia?
It was. I was hoping to do the Vuelta a Colombia earlier this year in February, but the team sent me elsewhere, and I was a little upset. I mean, not upset, but I was just disappointed because I really wanted to see the country. But then after California, I saw that there was a good chunk of time that I could fit some altitude in, and I thought, well, I didn't get to see it in February, so hell, we'll just go now.
And now it's definitely on the list for next season already, to start the season there?
Yeah, I'm going to stamp my feet next year. I'm going to be like, no way you guys are leaving me off the race now, because, I love the country so much that they're going to have to pull some teeth to get me out of that race.
Are there any special adventures with Rigoberto and Daniela that you want to share with us?
Just exploring on the bike was just a really eye-opening experience. It was just the roads they have there, and I don't know, just everything, like the cafes we would stop at, the food we would eat. It was just it was all just new and exciting for me. So to them, it probably just seemed like normal life, but to me, I was just probably being that annoying tourist, just taking pictures all the time. And but no, it was a lot of fun.
Did you guys manage to catch some of the Giro while you were over there?
Yeah, we were definitely tuning into the Giro. So some of our guys were up there in the climbing stages. Hugh Carthy in particular had a really impressive Giro. I was really happy to see him do that. Dombrowski as well. They were definitely rooting for Carapaz being another South American.
Did you guys, when you were watching or keeping an eye on some special things that maybe the regular fan doesn't keep an eye out on?
I think, obviously being a bike racer, we probably have a deeper understanding of what is actually going on in the race than maybe a casual fan would. I mean, it was an interesting dynamic that was going on with Movistar and the two guys that they had up there, but no, I'd say we were just probably tuning in the way the rest of the people would. I mean, with the time change, it's not like we were always able to watch every day because we had to train, and so sometimes we would just tune in and look at the results and see highlights and stuff. So we weren't tuning in that closely, but we were definitely keeping tabs on what was going on.
Yeah, and now obviously you made your way back from Colombia. Now you just mentioned you're in Girona now, slowly making your way to France. Do you remember the last time you raced the Dauphiné?
Last time I raced the Dauphiné, it must have been 2015.
Yeah, second place on GC.
Yeah, that was a good year. Good Dauphiné for me.
Would you be happy with a second spot this year as well, or beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer not to know the future because I like to think that anything's possible. But if if at the end of the tour, if at the end of the Dauphiné I get second place, I think I'd be happy with that. But if you told me to sign on a piece of paper that I'm gonna get second place, I wouldn't sign it because that would limit my possibilities just a little bit.
And is it the team that you guys are going? Is Rigoberto and Daniel, are they coming with you to the Dauphiné as well? Or check the start list, didn't see it yet, but...
No, I think their plan is to race the Route de Sud. So I think it'll be me and Mike Woods that'll be sort of the GC guys for the Dauphiné, and then we also have good guys for breakaways and stage hunters like Bettiol and Simon Clark.
And if you look at now at this decision to go to the Dauphiné or maybe a Tour de Suisse or Route de Sud, what does it depend on for you? Is it preference for you to go Dauphiné because maybe you have a bit of time afterwards to go to altitude again before the tour, or?
Yeah, I think the Dauphiné fits the best for as far as tour preparation because yeah, you can do some altitude beforehand, and then it also gives you time to rest and to train a little bit and get a little altitude in afterwards. And if you race the Tour of Swiss, you have to just rest until the tour, and there's nothing to really. If you think that you need to work on something in training, there's not really a whole lot of time. The Ruta del Sol, that seems to be popular with the Colombians. They like that race. I've never done that approach, but everyone has their own methods. Like some people prefer Swiss, some people prefer the Dauphiné, some people prefer, not to race at all in June. So it's just a personal preference.
In the last couple of years, when you did Tour de Suisse, you just noticed that Dauphiné is probably better suited for you in that preparation to watch the tour?
I think so. I mean, it's not an exact science. Sometimes people they like to make a big deal about what happens throughout the season. Trying to project what's going to happen in July, and then a lot of times in July, once you get into stage 13 or 14. Then people forget what happened throughout the rest of the year. So it's kind of this funny thing, like everyone completely analyzes everything you're doing up until the tour starts, and then once the tour starts, they forget everything you've done. So it's this weird thing.
Is that something that you sort of learned from experience over the last couple of years as well? That people look at it that way?
Kind of. I mean, the thing you got to learn is at the start of every race, everyone's clock starts at 0. So just because you might have had a bad race there doesn't mean you're gonna have a bad race there, and things can change, things ebb and flow. So it's you just have to start each race thinking that anything is possible.
So you're definitely going to start this Dauphiné thinking anything is possible. How do you come into this Dauphiné in terms of form and maybe even a bit of fatigue after a big block of training in Colombia?
Well, I'm feeling good from Colombia. After the Tour of California, I was, the plan was just to go to Colombia, and Tour of California ended up being quite a bit harder than I expected because a lot of the stages were 215, 220K, pretty tough. So a lot of time in Colombia was spent, resting, just doing some long rides, but no big intensity because also just getting used to the altitude. So I'd say I'm feeling quite fresh and well prepared for the Dauphiné. But, like you said, at the start of the race, everyone's clock starts at 0, and you just gotta get into it and see how it goes.
Are you a numbers guy who might check, I don't know, what you're using, maybe Training Peaks or whatever, how in terms of form and fatigue and how you can maintain that, or?
You mean like the TSS score and stuff?
Yeah, etc. Is that something that you look at, or
No, I don't really believe in those numbers. Um, I think there's so many other things that go into how you're feeling and what you're doing that, just certain time spent in certain zones doesn't really, that's just a very, very small piece of the equation as to the overall fitness that you may have.
I think I read like in an interview earlier this year, maybe end of last year, for this year, like everywhere you go, you want to have sort of like the opportunity to get a result. So I assume you're starting the Dauphiné with that ambition to get that result. When is the time when you start like zooming in on the Dauphiné, studying the route and where the opportunities are for you?
I've kind of tuned into what the route is. Obviously, I'd like to do well in the time trial. I think that'll be the first major test. It's kind of a typical route where there's some sprint stages, but also some tricky stages with some hills, like probably good for breakaways or good for attackers. So really, it's like there's the TT, and then there's two mountain stages that follow that. So it's I don't think I'm going to really be moving too much before the TT. Try to have a good TT, and then see how the mountain stages go.
And you guys are obviously flying this year on the TT as the whole team. What's the
Yeah,
secret? Almost, I would almost say, what's the secret?
honestly, I just think it's the emphasis that the team has put on time trials. We've had a couple of camps this year where we've done some team time trial training. We've done, we hired Peter Schwepp, who's an aerodynamics sort of guru and time trial specialist, kind of just a numbers guy, and he's dialed in a lot of guys' positions and given a lot of training. And it's kind of similar to what I had on BMC. We had Marco Pinotti as a guy who would come in and give just like a warm up protocol and a nutrition protocol. And even if it's all BS and it's all made up, just the fact that we're putting so much emphasis on it, I think gives you this psychological advantage that, yeah, we're doing things the right way and we're ticking all the boxes. So therefore, we're going to be in that elite echelon.
And not only maybe in the individual time trials this year, but must be on the radar that that second day of the Tour de France, the team time trial. Is that something
Yeah,
that's already on your mind, or that you already, obviously as a team, already looking forward to?
yeah. I mean, I've been a part of a lot of team time trial victories over my career, and anytime there's a team time trial, I get really excited for it and really motivated for it. And the Tour de France team time trial is, that's an opportunity for a big stage victory for Education First, and the first real opportunity to gain time for Rigoberto in the GC. So yeah, we're putting a lot of emphasis on it. We're taking it really seriously.
And obviously the opportunity maybe to even get the yellow jersey immediately as well. For that Tour de France, is everything about Rigo?
He's definitely the first option on the team. A guy who's been podium in 3 Grand Tours in the recent past definitely deserves the full backing of the team.
And has there been like a bit of a team spirit creation over there in Colombia in terms of that as well? Did you get a more feeling to working maybe what it would be like to work for him?
That wasn't the purpose of me going over there. I mean, obviously I trained every day with Rigo there, and he's a great guy, and he was super helpful. Just with everything, like finding a place to stay for me and my family, and giving us advices on where to eat, where to shop, where to ride, and this and that. but I mean, and yeah, obviously I wanted to train with him and get to know him and all of that. But it was more of like I didn't see it as like, oh, I need to get to know you so that we can work together for the Tour de France. It was more like, hey, I really want to see your country, and
Yeah.
let's
Enjoy the experience.
because this will be a really cool experience. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One more thing about like the altitude, because obviously this year's in the Tour de France, we're looking ahead a little bit on Tour de France. Quite a few stages that go above 2,000 meters altitude. For you, might be sort of almost normal living in Colorado, and now having is a difference in the altitude maybe in France in a race like that than whether it is when you're training in Colombia or when you're training at home. Obviously, the intensity probably will be different, but
Well, the thing is in training is you can always dictate how fast you go, whereas in a race, the race dictates how fast you go. So, um,
is there a slight advantage for you?
I mean, I don't know. I think so many people spend so much time at altitude these days that I wouldn't say that there's a huge advantage for me necessarily. I mean, Sky or Team Enos, they basically live at Tenerife all year, and you have all these Colombians that spend time at 3,000 meters almost all year. So, I mean, yeah, I live in Colorado for a big majority of the time, but a lot of times I have to leave because it gets cold and snowy there. So I'll do some of my training in California, or I'll come to Europe, and overall I might even spend less time at altitude than a lot of these teams that basically just rent the hotel for the year in Tenerife.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that yeah, I should have no problem with the altitude because I do have that kind of long exposure just from living in Colorado, but I'm not going to say that the other people aren't going to be prepared for it as well.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Tacx Turbo Talk fan question of the week. Each week we've got fan questions coming in for our podcast guests. And this week we got a question from Adam, who's from Sydney, asking heaps of questions, but also what are your three favorite weight training exercises that you feel make a difference?
Weight training exercises. I keep the weight training pretty simple, and it's mostly body weight stuff. Like I'll do some single leg squats. I'll do some stuff with a TheraBand, just kind of some glute activation. And yeah, mainly stuff with just like a TheraBand or a Swiss ball, just to kind of keep the core stable. I don't necessarily do a lot of gym work or heavy lifting.
Is that different than maybe some of your other teammates, or is everyone sort of like the same in that?
I don't know. I feel like the weights, they kind of go in and out of fashion. Throughout my career, even since I was a junior, it seems like there's a couple years that I'll be in the weight room, 3 days a week during all the winter months, and then some winters when I don't touch weights at all, I just kind of do the core stuff. I think definitely doing the core and staying balanced and just hitting the stuff with the Swiss ball and the TheraBands, and that's always really good. You can never have too much of that. But the weights, I think it's really debatable on whether or not that's a difference maker.
Okay, so at least Adam from Sydney, go do that single leg squats and they get that band and definitely work on that core. As I think all strong cyclists definitely have a massive core strength, so definitely want to do so. TJ, we're gonna let you go. Taking up too much of your time. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good luck in the Dauphiné and then the Tour de France ahead. Do you already know what's on your program after that?
I don't. I was talking a little bit with Charlie Wegelius. I would like to get in a couple of one-day races into the program just so that I can maybe make a case for Olympic selection. And, one-day races is something I haven't really done in the past because I've been really just pegged as a GC rider. But this year I've had a lot of fun kind of jumping in breakaways and just kind of racing just in that kind of attack mode style. And I think just throwing in some one-day races would kind of just add something new to the mix.
And would you then also put your hand up maybe for like races like the Dirty Kansas? As your team obviously is really into more embracing racing and cycling as a whole.
I don't know. I think there's guys on the team that are better suited to that stuff than me. But I'm not opposed to trying it. It looks like a lot of fun. But the one thing I could maybe see doing is Leadville 100 because it's after the tour, so it doesn't really interfere with any of the preparation, and it's really close to my home in Colorado. So that would be one that would make sense. But I haven't really gotten any indications from the team that they want me to do that, and I'm not really chomping at the bit to go do that kind of stuff. So
okay, so we'll see after Tour de France what's next for you. At least trying to get some one-day racing in. Good luck in the next week, getting to France and having a great week there, and obviously a healthy preparation for the tour after that. And good luck with the team.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thanks TJ for jumping on. This was Rob Pauw with Tejay van Garderen from EF Education First. Stay tuned for a new Tacx Turbo Talks next week.